Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing the unthinkable. I'm actually going to be drawing with an art supply that I hate. Now, quite a few people have done this in the past on YouTube. It's been a little bit of a trend and I kind of want to join in too and see if I can maybe change my mind on an art supply. So as you guys have guessed, the art supply in question is dry pastels. Now I know a lot of people use these here on YouTube and yeah, I don't know. I used these quite a while ago back in high school because we had a sort of art project with them, and I don't know, I just wasn't really a fan of them. Perhaps maybe it was because I didn't know a lot about them, but I just didn't really like the properties of these. They just seemed too dusty, they were very smudgy and just really messy. Now I don't mind art supplies that are smudgy because I use a lot of paint and stuff like that, but art supplies that stay smudgy forever just didn't really appeal to me at all. Also, I couldn't really get a whole lot of control with them. They were really thick and chunky, and yeah, they weren't really the crisp art supply that I really liked. So recently I bought these dough and soft pastel pencils, as well as some sort of more chunkier soft pastels, and yeah, I'm gonna get in and try and make an artwork with them. So of course, to start off, I had to swatch these because it has been quite a few years since I have actually used this art supply, at least in entirety in like one artwork. So I got some pastel paper here. We have a sort of beigey color and a black one as well, and I'm just swatching down all of the colors, and I have to say the colors are very nice. They're very vibrant and colorful and bright and pigmented, and I do like that about them. But I'm just not a huge fan of the chalky feel. I don't know, it just feels like I'm drawing with chalk, especially the dry feeling on my hands when I'm using them as well. I don't know, I feel like it dries out my fingertips and just makes them feel weird, so I'm not a fan of that. But I really like as well how the colors look different on the dark paper and the light paper. It gives it a completely different look. Some way the colors actually look way more vibrant on dark paper, maybe just because they are sort of opaque and they just shine off that paper and it adds a bit of contrast. But it also looks pretty good too on the light colored paper as well. Now with the pastel pencils, I really did like how it had a mix of more natural tones as well as bright and vivid tones. You see, with the chunkier ones, I sort of had to buy 2 packets because they had a packet of more natural colors and then a separate set with really vibrant, intense colors. And I wanted a mix of them to make an artwork with. And I do really like the pencils, how they can, you know, have more control. You can do some finer lines with them and maybe do thicker, fatter, sort of more block area colors with the pastels that aren't the pencils. But yeah, going back to how I used to use them in high school a few times, I just wasn't really a fan of the whole smudgy feeling. And recently I discovered something that I didn't know existed back then, and that is workable fixative, which, as you know probably, they are made for pastels and you can spray it over the top and it will seal it and stop it from smudging. Once I sort of discovered that, I thought, you know, maybe I will give pastels another go and see what I think. So now diving into an artwork. For this sort of artwork, I wanted to do something simple but cute and colorful and bright. Something that maybe I could show the natural colors as well as the bright vivid colors. And for the subject matter, I chose a young girl. And yeah, I do this sometimes because I just really like drawing girls. I think the hair is just really fun to draw and all of the curves. Sometimes I'm just in the mood to draw some fun, cute stuff. I was a little bit confused with the subject matter. I knew I wanted to do a young girl with some cute, colorful things around, and I was very close to drawing flowers around her, but I just felt like that was a little bit too typical of me. A lot of the time I've drawn flowers and women, and I wanted to do something different this time. So I went with fruit. Now I have a color palette in mind today, and that is pink and yellow. These are colors that I love together. They're just really colorful and bright and kind of fruity, kind of summery, and yeah, that's the kind of vibe that I wanted to go with this drawing. For the sort of feel for the drawing, I wanted it to be like have a relaxing, chill, sort of summery feel to it, and I decided to draw her in a sort of lounging pose as if maybe she was asleep or she was just really relaxed. And I decided to put her arm behind her head as if she was resting her head against her arm, and the other one is just sort of laying in her lap. Now in the book of sort of pastel paper, I did have a whole bunch of different colors. They were all mostly neutral tones, but I tried to pick one that was mostly a mid-tone. I just felt like that would help with the warm feel of the artwork, as well as show those highlights a little bit more. I also had these blending stumps, which I have previously used for charcoal before, and I felt like it would be useful to use for these too, because charcoal and pastels are really quite similar, except one is coloured and one is like sort of black and grey tones. So I used a little bit of sandpaper to clear off the charcoal off those blending stumps, and they were perfect to use with the soft pastels. I just sort of alternated between adding colours in areas and then blending with the pastels, and trying to get sort of even shading while also mixing a few colours here and there so it looks vibrant. And it was a little bit hard to sort of get a smooth sort of tone because the paper was quite textured, and I chose a textured paper because I felt like I would be able to add more colour on there, and of course I wouldn't be able to get the sort of tone perfect because all of these textures, but overall I actually really like the textures on this artwork. I feel like it gives it something different compared to my usual Copic art or, you know, acrylic painting, that kind of thing. The skin went through a few different stages where I was trying to add shadows here and there, and then it kind of looked a little bit too muddy, and then it was a little bit too red, and then a little bit too yellow, but I sort of just alternated between adding sort of shades of pink, light yellow, brown and white, and then blended it all together, and then added a bit more fixative, and then worked over the top of that until I got to a stage that I really liked. Now I have to say the workbook fixative is great, however it does change the colours very slightly. I realised that when I sprayed a bit down, it did sort of mute the highlights, and I sort of had to add them in a bit again, and then try and make the highlights really bright so that when I sprayed the fixative down it would sort of dull them a little bit and make it perfect. And that was a little bit frustrating, but it wasn't overall a big deal. I still got around that and I still created an artwork that I liked. So for the inspiration of the fruit, I actually, this is a bit funny, I sort of got a little bit of inspiration from my boyfriend's G Fuel tubs. He has quite a lot of flavors of G Fuel, which is a sort of energy drink that we really like. And I sort of got inspired by a mix of the strawberry shortcake flavor and the pink lemonade flavor. And that's what actually gave me the idea for a pink and yellow themed illustration. Now for her sort of dress slash nightgown, whatever she's wearing, I did a base of yellow over it, and then I just felt like it needed a little bit more detail on there. It was a little bit too plain for me and I wanted to add something, so I did some really tiny strawberries all over that, and I think it looks pretty cute. Now for this illustration I did add a little bit of green where the sort of leafy part of the strawberries were, but I tried to pick a sort of natural, sort of earthy, subdued green, not a super, you know, saturated green. And that worked out pretty well, and it gives it a little bit of depth as well, but doesn't really change the color palette too much. The fruit were really fun to draw. I just sort of mixed a few colors down on the page, and with the lemons I tried to sort of give them a few tones here and there, but blend it softly to make it look like those lemons had you know, pulp and you know, juicy bits in there. And the strawberries were really fun too. I just mixed a bunch of reds and pinks together and then added a bit more workable fixative over the top, and then I drew in the seeds with a bit of yellow and white. After this, I added a few drops of just white all around just to sort of give it a bit of a splashy / bubbly feel, as if maybe she's daydreaming. Maybe it's a summery day and she's really chill and just having a nice, you know, cold drink and just enjoying the sunshine or something like that. That's what I imagine anyways. But yeah, this artwork was really fun to draw and I had a lot of fun doing it despite the art supply, which, to be fair, I did sort of dislike it at first, but once I sort of gave it a little bit more research and I looked up a few, you know, techniques to do and, you know, tried my best to, you know, work around the limitations of the artwork and sort of work with them instead of trying to work against them, I think I had fun, and I think I did change my mind on this art supply, and yeah, I can sort of respect it a little bit more. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Here's the final results of this artwork, and I just think it's really cute, and I really like how I created an artwork that I really like with an art supply which I seemingly disliked, and then I realized I liked it. So I hope you all have a lovely day. Please smash like and subscribe to get your scribble fix in the future, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye everyone.